Arcane's opening scene is so powerful. I honestly think that it's on par with the opening of Pixar's Up, but that's not why I'm making this video. I'm making this video because Powder's character development, or really her character's regression, is phenomenally done. And it all begins in this opening scene. Violet and Powder walk around the battlefield. You can see that Powder was crying before, but now with Violet by her side holding her hand, Powder's tears have dried. Together they search the area for their parents, or at the very least, their leader Vander. They find him at the bridge, killing an enforcer. Upon noticing the girls, though, Vander points them in the direction of their parents, who lie dead on the ground. And it's not Powder that is moved to tears here, is it? Rather, it's Violet that begins to cry. And it's Powder that comforts her. It's Powder that is there for Violet in her darkest hour. That day, a hatred towards the enforcers and the people of Piltover was born in Violet, just as it was once born in Vander. And naturally, it's Vander, the protector of the lanes, that Violet looks up to. The first 3 episodes focus largely on Violet's relationship with her adoptive father because, obviously, his time in this story is short. It's important to show the audience the lasting effect that he, the parental figure, has on Violet both here and down the road, you know? But despite that fact, he's never once shown sharing his wisdom with Powder. That's Violet's job. Violet is to Powder like Vander is to Violet in the first act of Season 1. So just as Violet tries to become more like Vander, Powder tries to become more like Violet. As Violet becomes a leader, Powder becomes a soldier. She falters a good bit along the way, though. She freezes up while on the roof, she accidentally blows up Jace's workshop, and when her bomb fails while on the run, she impulsively throws all their loot into the lake. That's Powder's flaw. She's impulsive, and this leads her to make rash decisions. But even so, everything she does is born out of good intentions. All she wants is to be there for Violet like she was that gloomy day, like Violet always is for her. But at the same time, her mistakes make her fear that she isn't good enough for Violet. So even though Violet told her not to get involved in Vander's rescue mission, Powder can't help but disobey her sister. Because not only does Powder genuinely believe that helping is the right thing to do, but by doing so, she can finally prove her worth to her sister. And well, you know what happens as a result. Powder's friends die, as does Vander. Violet lost her idol, and in an act she'd regret for the rest of her life, she deprived Powder of hers when Powder needed her most.
You're a Jinx! Do you hear me?
Please come back! Please, Violet! I need you!
I've got to give credit to the writers here. It would have been so easy to take the predictable route and have one of the girls get taken to Piltover and grow up rich while the other remained in the slums. It would have been so easy to have Powder be corrupted by newfound hatred for her sister as the show slowly built up to a climactic fight between the two. But the show doesn't go that route. Instead, Violet is arrested, and Silco raises Powder, who then dons the name Jinx. Years go by. All this time under Silco's tutelage, Jinx's newfound willingness to kill and her ease at pulling the trigger on someone that reminds her of Violet, the many voices that haunt her mind following all this childhood trauma, all these things are there to make you think that the cute little Powder we once felt so bad for is no longer there. The writers make it so easy to believe that the predictable formula I just mentioned is playing out. But no. When Jinx finds out that Violet is alive, she doesn't set out to kill her sister. Instead, she begins to hope that their sisterhood of years past can be revived. Despite how much she's changed, she still loves her sister, and she embraces Violet when they reunite. At least, until she sees Caitlyn. How fitting is it that the girl who was once so worried that she wasn't good enough for her sister now thinks that those very fears have been realized. And then when Violet has the perfect opportunity to prove Jinx wrong, she doesn't. Violet chooses to go with Caitlyn rather than stay and fight for Powder.
Nice.
And yes, I do think that this was a lapse of judgment on the writer's part. Because I genuinely believe that someone in Violet's position who resolved to never abandon her sister again wouldn't leave Jinx behind on that bridge. But the fact that she does is very interesting, because it's not Violet that saves Powder here. It's Silco that saves Jinx. This shows Jinx that the Violet she once knew is no longer there, She has more important priorities now than to protect her little sister. And Jinx accepts this. She knows that their relationship will never be the same as it once was, and unfortunately, she uses this acceptance to justify her own behavior, even after killing the man who pushed such a life onto her. This is what makes Jinx's story so compelling to me. The fact that she wanted to reconcile with her sister, but instead, through Violet, not Silco, she comes to accept that they can never return to the way things were. It's through Violet that Powder dies, and Jinx's life becomes all the more tragic as a result. Because this time, it's not Violet's fault, it's Jinx's.